The PL Show is brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil.
Sarah Blakely, businesswoman, entrepreneur, and founder of the Spanx, once said that the jungle is real, the struggle is real, and that's why everyone should hire a working woman, because they're constantly placed in crazy situations and are forced to make the best of it. This is the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master, and Feco Spray Starch. Look sharp. Our clothing today is brought to you by Mod HQ for all your fashion and clothing needs. Our guest this week is none other than Cynthia Quarcooo, legal practitioner and the founder and managing partner of the CQ legal firm, as well as the founder of Africa One Media. She's also the brain behind Chronicles of a Working Mother. This is the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, and we'll be right back after this break.
Wow! My uniform looks different.
Feco spray starch. Majima point. Hachi, pause. When you want to remember to the moon, I feel you spray starch, papa. On particles be our water, no wrinkles, smooth iron.
Yes, papa. Feco spray starch. Me here perfume.
Also, yes, guy.
Feco spray starch.
Look sharp.
Look sharp. Look sharp.
Welcome back to the PL Show from the break. As always, our show is brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master, and Feco Spray Starch. Look sharp. Our outfit today is brought to you by Mod HQ. Mod HQ for all your fashion and clothing needs. Our guest this week is a legal practitioner and the brain behind Chronicles of a Working Mother. She is Cynthia Quarcooo. And my aunt. I'm so excited to have her on the show today. Hi, Auntie Cynthia. Hi.
Am I supposed to behave?
Oh, yeah. Yes, this is a
Okay.
professional setting. Okay.
So I'm all poised, waiting.
Yeah, we can still make jokes and have fun.
It's a pleasure. I can't believe that you're about to interview me. I'll share a few tidbits, but I think the first thing I'd like to say is I'm absolutely proud of what you've done. Where you are, more Greece. And I always knew that you were going to do a fantastic job. And so congratulations. Take this opportunity to say congratulations for all you've done so far.
I'm going to cry.
It's okay. You know that you cry usually.
I do. I'm a crier,
I
but
know.
that's fine.
They don't know that though, do they?
They don't. Thank you for
Thanks
that.
for having me. Thanks for having me. It's
Thank you for
absolutely
being
pleasure.
here. You are the founder of a law firm.
Yeah.
You're also the founder of Africa One Media.
Yeah.
And most recently, you have birthed Chronicles of a Working Mother.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the childhood and your educational journey that led you to all of these incredibly, what might seem to be different career paths?
I was there. I grew up as there. I was very privileged that I had... I think it's very characteristic of the family that we come from, that I was allowed to be me.
Yes.
So from a very young age, I'm not one of those who's going to sit here and say, when I was 7, I knew I was going to be a medical doctor. No. I did know, though, probably at the age of 7 or 8, that I wanted to be in media and I wanted to do exactly what you're doing now. But my mum at the time said, no.
You need something practical.
You need something more practical. Of course, Dad is a medical doctor, but Dad was a musician. Mom was an accountant. And so being the academics that they were, I think the expectation more from Mom was for me to go to school and do the proper thing. And a proper thing for her at the time was to be a medical doctor. I didn't like the sight of blood. I didn't know how that was going to work out, but I was also a rebel. And so I did what I had to do, but at some point I decided to do me. I started school here, went back to England when I was very young, and then, in boarding school, did all of those things, went to university, and then one day thought, no, I can be me. So I dropped out of university.
Oh, wow.
And I went to work And the first job that I ever got was working in a shop called Harrods, which was very interesting at the time because Harrods was, of course, the most expensive shop in England. Everybody knows Harrods, and it wasn't often that you find a lot of Black people working there. I didn't actually plan to do the job that I did. I went to work. I applied for a job as a sales assistant. Went in there, didn't get that job, but got called back later on to be interviewed for a job as a buyer's assistant, which was quite interesting. And apparently, when I had gone in for the first interview, there was a buyer who saw me and saw the way I looked because I wasn't conventional. I've never really been conventional. So thought I liked the look of her and, asked that she'd interview me. I had never done a job. I didn't even know what a buyer's assistant is. Needless to say that I got the job and ended up working, as a buyer's assistant to somebody who worked within the designer clothing section, and it exposed me to so much, which was great. I'm coming somewhere with the story.
Oh no, I'm with you.
And then did that, and then went and got married, which again was like, oh no, she didn't go to university. Now she's had a baby, she's gonna get married at this young age. Did that, and only when I had my second daughter, Francine, that I thought, okay, it's all as cute, but I want them to go to private schools like I was putting. How am I going to afford to pay that? So the motivation to go back to school and study something proper were my kids. So after Francine, I decided to go back to university. I didn't even tell Mom about that. Went back and studied economics and then added law to it. And so everything I achieved, which was sensible, was after the children. Okay. And the children were the motivation.
It's not every day you hear of someone having 2 children and then returning to school. Would you say that having 2 children at the time that you did gave you a new perspective on life and the things that you wanted out of life?
I mean, I always say that I did my growing up when I had my children. I was an only child.
Wow.
Till the age 15. And so I would say I was a little bit spoiled. I have to say, own it before somebody else says it. And so for me, growing up was when the kids came along, a lot of things made sense. Living in England, there was the option of getting them to go to the normal schools.
Like a public school.
But I kind of also understood where my parents came from when they put me in private schools, because in my opinion, looking back now, it sets the tone for a lot of things. And so that inspired me to say, okay, on the salary, and I was making good money, it wasn't going to happen that way. I didn't know at the time I was going to have 6 though. Let me just put it there. But I did know that for the first 2, I wanted them to go to private schools, and that was a motivation for me to go back. And I think also because it was at that age that I began to find myself.
How old were you then?
In my early 20s.
Oh.
Okay. And I know there are people out there who know what they want to do when they are 16 or 13.
Well,
but for many of us, we find out through the journey. I've met people who have only come to realize what they really want to do when they're in their 30s or even in their 40s.
Oh, wow.
Because we come from a background in Africa where we're not encouraged to be us.
No, decisions are made for you.
Decisions are made for us.
To the status
exactly. And so oftentimes many of us go to university and do things, or we do courses that our parents expect us to do. And the educational system is not geared towards bringing out talent. It's more geared towards, these are the professions that you need to go to, So for me, that's when I started to find myself that, okay, confident in my ability to be able to do something for myself. So I think for me, the growing up started when I was in my 20s when I got married.
Wow. You mentioned having your 3rd child, but you actually have 6 children. 7 if you count me with how many times I was in your home growing up. Did you actively want to have so many children, or did it just happen?
Apparently, when I was younger, I used to say I'll have 6 children.
So you
because I was an only child and I spent a lot of time, like you did, with cousins.
Yes.
And for me, friends and cousins were the family that I didn't have, or the siblings I didn't have.
Siblings,
And my cousins will come later and say, I was a big fan of Mills and Boone. I was a big fan of Famous Five books. And I was a big fan of Secret Seven books. And I think for me, what's the name of that movie that I love so much? Captain Von Trapp.
Oh,
Sound of Music.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
All
So I
those
think for
kids.
me, the idea of having a big family, because I was an only child, came from that. But I never planned it. Looking back, people will come and say, but you used to say you have 6 children. As I did. It's like, yeah, I never consciously set out to have children, 6 children. But I think that there was a part of me that wanted what I didn't have when I was growing up. So maybe I'm projecting into your future. You never know. You might have 6, you might have 7.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I always said I wanted 4. So that's not.
So 4 is good enough.
I feel like
It's good enough.
It's a good need.
Yeah. So for me, yeah, definitely having children set the tone, but it also goes to show that there's a time for everything, and there are a lot of people out there who feel, okay, if I don't use a traditional route, go to university, do that, then when I get to my age of 20 or have children, it's the end. No, it's not the end. There are people out there who might be watching us now, who might think, okay, so I have children. I'm not I haven't got a degree, or I haven't. That's
never too
until
late.
you go to the grave. There's always time for you to
time.
do something. It's never late.
Absolutely.
So go out there and pursue it. If I could do it, and then to say that I've had my first degree, and then after that I thought, okay, I worked as an economist for a little while. I went up to see a former lecturer. I wasn't very fulfilled in the career. And so I said, she said, have you thought about going to law school? At the time I had number 3 at least. I can't remember, it was 3 or 4. And I went and applied for a scholarship, won the scholarship.
Wow.
And that enabled me to go to law school. If I was looking back and gave myself excuses why I couldn't do it, or I have 4 children,
You would have never done
I would
it.
never have done it. And I think a lot of the things that I've achieved have always been against the odds. So it's really about having the confidence in yourself that you can do it and just
And
make
the
it happen.
courage
And the
too.
courage to do it. That's probably my biggest asset is being tenacious and just going ahead and doing it and proving everybody that I can do it. Because at every stage, people said one way.
There
I
will be
remember there were
naysayers.
naysayers. I remember going to a careers advisor who advised me to become a solicitor. And her excuse was, there are a lot more black people in England who do better as solicitors. I said, but I want to be a barrister. I said, I said, really? So I went ahead and became a barrister anyway. And then went back to her a couple of years after, she was sitting behind, went to a law fair. And I said, do you remember? We said, no. I said, do you remember 3 years ago? She said, oh my God, you did so well. So it's about, no matter what people say or circumstances present, it's really about internally what you believe you can do.
Absolutely.
So that's my journey as growing up into what I became.
This is the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master and Fecker Spray Starch. Look sharp. We'll be right back after this break.
Brush, 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 brush your teeth. Brush, 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 2 times a day. Brush with Quarcoo.
Hello, my friends. My name is Quarcoo Toothpaste.
Wow.
I was made to be gentle on your gum, but protected. I will protect your teeth from cavity, make your teeth whiter, stronger, keep your mouth fresh all day. And best of all, I'm strawberry flavored. So put on a smile and try me.
That's amazing.
Just try me. That's my job.
If you say so, jump on my brush. Makes your teeth stronger, chicky chicky whiter, chicky chicky stronger. Yay! You did it!
I'm glad you like your new toothpaste. Don't forget to brush both day and night.
Quarcoo. Happy smile.
Welcome back to the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master and Fecker Spray Starch. Look sharp. Now, so it sounds like you're incredibly busy. Not only are you running the law firm, but you're also lending yourself in service to the next generation so that your work will speak for you in posterity. But I'm sure our viewers at home would like to see what exactly goes into your day-to-day activity. So let's take a look at the day in the life of Cynthia Quarcooo.
Believing that one needs to be the best they can be and that success comes when one lays the right foundation, Cynthia Quarcooo is one who believes in motivating young people to achieve their set goals.
She's really passionate about training young people, such as myself, and working with her has been a pleasure.
A fighter, as her friends call her, Cynthia has achieved great heights in her various establishments. Cynthia is recognized as the first lawyer to establish a dedicated entertainment, sport and media practice within her law firm in Ghana and continues to represent creative and sporting talent in Ghana.
There is something that she always says. There is a building close to our building. She says that we are going to have a building like that with different departments. I look forward to us to be at that place where she aspires for us to be, and then we grow together as a family.
Absolutely beautiful. It's a wonderful thing you're doing, just setting the foundation for the next generation of lawyers. I can't wait to see what happens with that.
Can't wait for you to join.
I will. So you've talked about going back to school as a mother. Moving on from that, you talked about becoming a barrister, which made you a working mother, which is no easy feat. Yeah. I mean, the law is in some ways very specialized field. It requires a lot of learning, even as you practice, because laws change all the time.
Very dynamic.
How do you find that balance between being a mother and work?
It starts with knowing you can't be both at a given time.
Ooh.
It's the truth for me.
It's the harsh reality.
It starts with the reality that my first role is a mother. And that if I had to stop anything until the children were old enough, that's my role. I'll give an example. When I moved back to Ghana, because I wanted to teach my children, I have 5 daughters and a boy, to be the best role model for them meant that I had to be realistic and be honest about who I was as a person and let them see, because children learn more from what they see and experience than what you say to them.
It's not just do as I say.
It's not just do as I say. And so for me, it was, I'm going to involve my children from a very young age into the life of a woman.
This is true.
Right? And not have to make excuses. So my kids were very involved in what I did. My kids would often, we had our routines and it helped. But I mean, going back to the question that you asked, it's first of all, understanding my role as a mother, and that if I needed to stop whatever I was doing, I would focus on my children first. A lot of us from these parts, we want to be so perfect for our children. It doesn't make sense. Are you with me? When I'm struggling, my kids know my bank accounts. My kids can literally tell you what's in my bank account. If I was struggling, it was a matter of explaining to my children what was going on and involving them, because children are very resilient and they understand. So it's a constant balancing act. There are times when my work needs me more, and there are times when my children need me more. However, in that whole thing, if I was in a board meeting and my kids messaged me and there was an emergency, I would leave. Right? It's just establishing that. And maybe being self-employed gave me a bit more power because I'm my own boss. But it's about, listen, I have an emergency and I've got to go, So I've never really thought it through, but it's a balancing act. It's a balancing act.
So you just talked about being your own boss and having some sort of autonomy because of it. Now you founded CQ law firm. Can you walk us through the journey that led you there? Because you went to law school, was that in the UK?
Yes, and then came to Ghana.
And then came to Ghana, so you did Makola as well.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that like?
So after my first degree, of course, got a scholarship, as I said before, and then went to, first of all, did the postgraduate diploma in law at the University of Law. And then after that, went to Nottingham Law School. I got admission into Nottingham Law School, which is one of the top law schools in England. I actually moved for it. I used to live in London, and when I got an admission into Nottingham, I moved. I'm like, I'm not, this one, I have to do it. So I moved away with the children to Market Harbour, yeah. And I also wanted to move out of London because I thought that it would be a better, environment for them growing up. So I moved up there and did that. And then when I came to Ghana, I think 2004, to liquidate Ghana Airways, I was appointed to come and work here. Then in 2012, I had to move back to England for health reasons and all of that. So birthing CQ Legal started off when I left Ghana in 2012. I registered a company solely for the purposes of continuing to do my consultancy work. But when I went back to England, I was headhunted to work in an international law firm, and I worked in a few other firms. And what came to me, and really the reason why I came back to set up CQ Legal, was that first of all, a lot of transactions that were being done which concerned our nation and most African nations were being led by international law firms. And through my experience of having set up a first law firm, I realized that the style of training was slightly different. Okay, I've never been really a good supporter of the Ghanaian educational system. I must put that on record. I'm not. I think there's a lot more that we need to do. I think vocational training needs to be taken very seriously. I'll come to that later. But I feel like we do need to train people for skills and not just passing exams. And through the process of first recruiting people, one thing I found interesting was that people will come to you with a first-class degree in something, in IT, and can't even operate a computer, right? And people weren't encouraged to think outside the box. I had a challenge. I was very blessed because my parents opened me up to a certain level of being able to explore. And when I went to England, it helped. But a lot of us are just following and passing exams without the practical skills. And I also felt that people weren't really pushed too much. So when I went back to England and worked and I saw what was going on and I saw major deals being done, and I was on the other side instructing law firms here in Ghana doing it, and there was only the older people who were doing these things. I'm thinking, the young lawyers are leading these transactions, and it's not just about going to law school, it's about grooming people to be confident, to be business leaders. And I see the law, I don't even see myself as a lawyer actually. I see myself as a solutions provider. When somebody comes to you for legal advice, they're not expecting you to regurgitate what you learned from law school. They want you to solve a problem.
They won't even understand it.
Exactly. I said, look, everyone went to law school and learned it. In fact, if you are very intelligent now, you don't even need a lawyer. Let's be real. There's artificial intelligence coming. You don't be too, you probably don't need a lawyer. If you're smart enough, you can go onto Google, you can type in something, and it will come up with a draft contract, and you will be able to. So now we need to move away from just thinking about, I'm a lawyer, to can I help my client solve a problem? Exactly. So it goes beyond just the practice of law. If you're advising a production company, you must understand about production a bit to be able to advise them, So the reason, and I've always been an encourager, and I like to motivate young people. I think as I'm growing and I'm getting to find myself, I realize that I get on more with young people than I do. And I think it's probably because growing up, I know what I lacked, and I feel that I need to give that back to society. So I really set up a law firm, and the focus was on empowering young lawyers to not just be lawyers, but as a millennials are different. It's a new generation law firm. What concerns my generation doesn't really concern your generation, and understanding that we need to leave a legacy. So the idea behind it is to do that. So that's why I came back, and I had a very good job in the UK, but my kids knew at that point that I needed to come back, and I wanted to give back to society. So for me, setting up CQ Legal was really in pursuit of that, and to mold people to become the next generation lawyers. Yes.
Now we actually have surprises for you, so let's take a look. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
I couldn't be at the studio, but I just wanted to say that Marcy, as I call her, is my mentor. I take a lot of inspiration from her because she is a mother of 6. She's so down to earth, humble. You can approach her anytime and she will be there for you. I'm sure she has shared her journey with you in terms of what she has been through. And she's a fighter.
She is.
She's a go-getter. She's a spiritual person. Don't get this woman wrong. We pray together at night. Trust me, it's not by her might. Yeah. It's by her faith. Yeah. Her faith that she has. And so, Marcy, I love you to the moon and back. Keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. May all your dreams and everything that you aspire to be, where you want to take, CQ Legal, may it all be granted for you. Amen. God bless you.
Amen.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. We tried to surprise her.
Oh my God. I mean, honestly, I'm sorry I messed up my makeup.
No.
But I take inspiration from all of you, Denta, Princess, everyone that I seem to impact. The inspiration comes from all of you. And I'm just so tremendously overwhelmed. Thank you so much for taking out time to dial in. You've made my day, actually. Love you. And I'm just happy to be associated with you. And thank you so much. God bless you. And thank all of you here. And I'm going to cry when you see me crying. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have I messed up your production?
Not at all. You've made it better. We love raw emotion here on the set. Aww. Now, in addition to the law firm, and we saw the work that you were doing there, you also have Africa One Media, which is the first of its kind. Tell us a bit about the inspiration behind it and what motivated you to creating Africa One Media.
Okay, I'll start off by saying that, when in a previous segment, I said that, it's the journey adds up at the end. And no matter where you find yourself, as you go through life, you come back to exactly what. And I really feel that, my father was a medical doctor, but he loved music and he played all instruments and he considered himself a musician, a part-time musician. I wanted to follow the same thing, but at the time, my mom would come back much later and explain to me that I didn't think that it was a career that would have been able to sustain you, even though I knew that there was a talent there. I didn't see that. Africa One Media came to me really out of chance. When I set up my first law firm, I had until recently the Ghanaian ambassador to India, His Excellency Michael Quay Jr., who was one of my first associates, worked with me. And we both had a love for music. And then, of course, I can't tell the story without telling the story about Reggie Rockstone, who is my childhood friend. I've known since I was 6. And so it started really with Reggie, and I have to give him the credit. There were 3 main pillars that really were the reason why Africa One Media was set up. So I'd go out with him, and he'd always introduce me as his lawyer. And I used to find that absolutely irritating. Like, look, my name is Cynthia. But through that, it was his love for the industry and seeing growth in the industry that it literally inspired me to do this. So he would always say, look, at the time, he came from a history of doing music for the love of it and not for money. But he also saw the disadvantage in that. And so he would bring up young artists. He started off with Edem and Asem and then Quarcoo to me and ask, for us to give them legal advice. And being a corporate commercial lawyer, I had always done some entertainment and media work outside in the UK. So I started to do it as pro bono. And it was really a way to empower artists. Okay. And then as I did that, I realized one thing, that creative people are not business people. And at the time, the Glow networks and all the telecommunications network were coming in and seeing the value of using artists to promote their brands. So I sort of came in at that time. So it started off as just advising them on their rights, trying to negotiate deals for them. And I did it for a while until Sarkodie came in and he was introduced to me. And I think I do credit Sarkodie as being the person who moved it to the next level because, I used to just support him and then he came up to me one day and said, Mama C, we need to draw up a contract. So, nobody had come to me before with draw up a contract. So I'm like, kidding me, what contract? It's like, but if you're not going to give me a contract, then we can't continue this relationship. But that's how serious he took his craft, okay? Because in as much as he sort of was grateful for the free legal services, he kind of also knew that he couldn't do it for, so he came up and we struck a deal. I said, listen, I'll advise you on this. So it was Sarkodie who brought it to the next level. And I've been told that I've advised probably about 90% of the artists in this country. Apparently it's true. I don't know how true that is. But it was my love to see the growth and to empower the generation of creatives. And also, we need to, as a nation, we need to invest in our creative media talent, right? We have polytechnics spread around.
Everywhere.
I don't know whether there is any vocational course for makeup artists, for production people. Why?
I mean, besides NAFTI, that we
don't have much. And so for me, it was just really about using the experience that I had as a business person, an entrepreneur, an economist, and also a lawyer to support them. So in 2011, I think, or 12, I came to do a transaction here. And so I was in an apartment that had been rented for me. And then I called all my artists. I remember calling Sarkodie, at the time it was Bisa Kade, Edem, and sitting down with them and said, look, I want to create a firm that only focuses on creative and sporting and media talent, which becomes the business arm of that firm. And the whole idea is that because we know creative people are not business people, it's almost like a consulting firm for creatives. So Africa One Media was birthed through that. The journey has been an interesting one because it really started off as just supporting artists pro bono and then evolved into something else, and it's still evolving and growing, and we're learning our lessons. It's tough. I was asked to speak a couple of years ago at the Georgetown University on Africa in terms of our investment into film. And we look at the West. If you look at the GDP of most nations, there's a big chunk of the money that is coming in from creative industry. So Africa One Media was set up to do that. Again, was revolutionary in the sense that, a lot of people at the time do remember when I started advising artists, people will come to me and say, you're a serious lawyer. Why are you spending all this time? People actually call me an entertainment lawyer. I don't know what that means. I am a lawyer. I do other things. Actual facts, I'm known more for my banking and finance experience than I am for my entertainment experience. But people say, why are you doing this? And then the very people now 10 years after are the same people who are coming to me and say, oh, Sarkodie, can I please have him come and perform? But so I think in Ghana, we just need to take a bit more risks, and Africa One Media for me was a risk, and it's been an incredible journey.
It's a risk that's definitely paid off.
It has paid off. 10, 11 years ago, artists weren't making much money, but now you'd be very amazed to know how much these artists are making. So they're all contributing to the growth of our economy. So that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to piggyback off of something that you've said. It's that there's this neglect for the creative industry. Yeah. Where do you think that stems from? And why do you think it's so hard to understand just how integral the film industry is, not only for our economy, but also for the way that our country is even perceived on a global scale?
I must say that we've come a long way. At least through my journey in the last 10, 11 years of being actively involved in the creative sector, I think there's been a lot that has been done. There's still a lot more to be done, okay? I can use my own story, for instance. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, Raquel was under my management and guidance for a while, and she would visit me at home. And at the time, I'd come and stay with my mom. And so Raquel was speaking to my mom one of those visits and said, "Oh, Auntie, say thank you to have Mama C for us. She's done so well." And my mom said, "Well, she was supposed to be an artist." And I literally looked at the woman with shock. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, I've always known. But in my generation, it was unheard of for your daughter or son to become a band boy or band girl. Before my generation, it was seen as if you went into any of these disciplines, then you were a failure or a dropout. If you made clothes, it was because you didn't do well in school. And so, because emphasis has been put on grades. So if you're good at math, you're good at English, then you're academic. That means you've got talent. But what about raw talent? Okay, what about if somebody comes home? Because I remember a cousin of mine who was very, very bad at math, but was great at DT. Okay, design and technology. You would pick up a wooden structure and build stuff. But the people couldn't see it. Oh, then we couldn't read a book now. You get So it's that whole perception. We need to move away from. Look, developed nations have built their nations on a variety of skills, and the creative sector. It's our mindset has to change. Absolutely.
I think that
using your hands. I have 6 children. My first one works, that's what you do, which she works with a BBC. She's a producer. I've known from day one she would be. My second one took your path. The two of you were the actresses in the house. I allowed her to go to drama school. She's finding herself and doing other things now. The third one did psychology. Just watch your child. The gift is there. And if we move away from academics as in the structure that some white man created,
that they're not even using
that
anymore.
they're not even using anymore.
That's the worst.
And move to what skills has this person got? How can I nurture that skill?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think we would do, and that is the story of the creative arts industry. And people didn't see it as a successful thing. Oh, I didn't go to school and, become a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. No, crying out loud, not everybody can become a doctor or a lawyer. What we need now is a policy that encourages education, formal education in this sector. I feel that the universities alone cannot do it, but the polytechnics should be designated as areas where we have BTech, HND qualifications in these fields.
Absolutely.
To encourage that. It all starts from education.
This is the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master and Fecker Spray Starch. Look sharp. We'll be right back after this break.
Mommy.
Mishosi. Fe.
Different era, better result. Time has changed and time has brought Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, healthy gums, anti-cavity, fresher breath, and it whitens teeth. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, Sankofa,
Yenchi, Kel Chocolate Toothpaste.
Happy smile.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil, Roma Nkrumah Master and Fecker Spray Starch. Look sharp. Now, from everything that we've seen, I at least would say that you're the quintessential working mother. In addition to these 2 companies, you have also recently set up the Chronicles of a Working Mother. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Because of my entertainment sort of experience, I had to set up social media pages, and I also really a way to snoop on my own children. So what's in there? I mean, they've all banned me from Snapchat. They don't know I'm there with a fake account. I'm on TikTok. I'm on everything.
Well, now
but
they know.
now they know.
Now they know.
Sorry. But I started getting a lot of people who would come into my inbox, and I would share pictures of my children and my journey, and they will ask questions about how do you combine being a mother with having a career. And I am an avid, sort of speaker at events, whether it's universities or whatever. And the question that always comes up would be, I want to be a lawyer too, but how do I combine it? How do you manage 6 children as a single parent? But and so when I turned 49, I started asking myself, being a cancer survivor also, I mean, I wanted to give back to society. And there were 2 things that I could do. Either, again, do the cancer story. And I thought, no, that too many people have done it. I have friends who have cancer foundations. And so I would rather support their foundations than to set up another one of my own. So I started to sort of mull over it and just deliberate and say, God, I mean, what can I give back? And it came to me that the experiences that I had gone through, and being a single mother of 6 and a career and all the things that I do, there must be a reason why I'm going through it. And so decided that I was going to start off hashtagging Chronicles of a Working Mother. So I started to, sort of just put out content about working on 2 different continents. And then I'll always tag it, Chronicles of a Working Mother, Chronicles of a Working Mother. And people started to ask a lot more questions. And I even had men come to me and said, oh, I have one particular guy come up to me and said, my wife and children are in the US and I'm in Ghana and I'm struggling on how do you do it since your children are in England and you are here? So we started conversations. And so I came up with an idea and had a conversation with Anita. And I thought, look, I think that the thing that would impact people is if I was able to share my story, and not just my story, but I think that when I say working mother, I'm not talking a corporate. For me, even the stay-at-home mom is a working mother. So for me, I wanted to create a platform, and it was supposed to be a blog initially, where I share my story about the journey to be able to impact somebody else and inspire somebody else, and then bring on board other females that I knew or people that I admired who tell their story. So that's how it started. So on my 50th, I launched it and wrote my own articles and started to write articles about it. So I started to conceptualize, how do I reach more people with this project? So I came up with 3 different things. And there's going to be a talk show, which we're birthing at the moment. And then there's going to be a TV series, which we're birthing at the moment. And then the third part of it will be a foundation. Women have always supported the family, and women need that support. So the foundation is supposed to be a skills vocational training thing where, we will look out for women who need it, who might need business support to set up their own businesses and that type of thing. So that's how it all started. Anything that affects the working mother, we want to be able to deal with. So it's an exciting phase of the project for me.
It's very exciting. I mean, your life is fascinating, and I think you're giving back in such an incredible way. And I can't wait to see just where the Chronicles of a Working Mother goes in the next even year. Very early on in this particular segment of the conversation, you talked about wanting to give back, but you also touched on the fact that you were a 2-time cancer survivor, and that you didn't want to, set up another cancer foundation, but rather to give back to those that were set up by some of your friends. Can you tell us a bit about your own battle with cancer and the way, because as you said earlier, everything you've gone through has shaped you into becoming the woman you are today. How did that impact your life?
I found out by chance that I had cancer. I had gone to the UK. I was here, really to do with Nadine and picking up repeat prescriptions for her. Went into see my nurse, and she sort of just randomly asked, have you been doing your smear test? And since you went back to Ghana, showed me how to examine my breast. She thought she saw a lump. And then she says, when are you going back to Ghana? I'm going on Monday. Okay, and this was probably on a Wednesday or Thursday, can you go to the hospital and just have it checked out? I came back to Ghana only a few weeks later to find out I had cancer. So my thing for you is, for women, doesn't matter how young you are. I've got a friend who has a foundation called Pink for Africa. She's been investing a lot into going into schools and educating young people. Examine yourself frequently, because early detection saves lives. I'm here because I detected it early. It's stage 1 cancer. I remember when I did get the call a few weeks later on that brought the news to me that I had cancer. The first thing that went through my mind was my children. And second thing was I was going through almost a difficult marriage at that time. So how am I going to raise I'm not leaving these kids. And that's where my faith came in. And I do remember, I didn't tell anybody about it, but I do remember one day waking up and sitting on my bed, and literally, and I'll tell you this because that changed my everything, and literally having a conversation with God, but then for the first time seeing God as my father, not as the supreme being out there who was holding a wand and doing magic, And I literally said to him, I said, as a child, I prayed for siblings, and you gave me 6 children. I don't think it was part of your plan to see me not raise my 6 children. So we're going to do a deal. You're going to make sure that I'm okay, because I'm not going to die and leave my kids. And some call it faith, some call it whatever. And it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or not. It's inside you. Are you with me? And when that changed, and I took over my life, and I said, no matter what, this is going to happen, things started to change. So that was, for me, was the biggest blessing. Almost 10 years after that, I'm still here, and because I didn't give up.
You're a fighter.
And it came from within. It's just accepting that, look, it's happened. And I do remember I said, God, and then at that point it came again. I said, God, okay, for 1 year I didn't pray. I said, Father, I don't get you. No. So I don't see God as this mythical being. I really don't see that God as that.
I completely relate to that.
I don't.
Completely.
So there are times then I have, my son is a footballer. We're talking recently, and he's going through a few struggles because of the pandemic. He hasn't been able to push his career to the next level. And he said to me 3 days ago, sometimes I don't even believe there's God. I said, you know what? Sometimes I don't believe there's God either. Living an authentic life and living my truth has been the biggest blessing that came out of my cancer journey. Because when you're faced with death, right, and everything is put into perspective, and you sit back and you think, and I used to buy all the, sometimes even borrow money off your credit card just to buy something to wear to please people who don't even care about what you're wearing. All of that. Nobody cares. I'll put that money now and put it into somebody's education, knowing that I made an impact on somebody's life, So I challenge everybody. Really, those of us in positions that, look, there is a young girl out there, there's a young man out there who needs you. Yes. And no matter how many Louis Vuitton bags you're holding, the key thing is that, if you want to leave a legacy, you must impact somebody else's life.
I couldn't agree more. Now, we actually have surprises for you. It's actually from your beautiful children.
Oh, I knew it. Kind of felt it.
Okay, we've got a special video here for you. So we hope you enjoy it.
I think what inspires me the most about my mom is how strong and dedicated she is.
One of the things that inspire me is how resilient and how hardworking she is. She continues to strive and do the very best in any kind of difficult situation. So that's always a good thing.
I would say she likes to think she's a cool mom. I guess she's a cool mom. But yeah, she's very open-minded, I guess, which is quite a nice thing to have. So yeah.
I see her CQ Legal becoming one of the biggest law firms in Africa. That's what I see.
More money.
Yeah. So much love there. Thank you. It's beautiful to watch. Now, I'm sure everyone watching at home has been incredibly touched by your whole story.
Thank you, that I have the platform to do that.
And the nuggets of wisdom that you've hopefully imparted onto them today. And I know I'm incredibly grateful to have you in my life as well as have you on the show today.
Oh, thank you.
The audience, I have no doubt, is incredibly grateful for
Thank
this.
you so much for having me.
And our sponsors at Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil and Sasso have a parting gift for you to express their own gratitude for being here. So we've got the Roma spray, we've got the Sasso insecticide spray.
I love Sasso. I use Sasso.
You
Actually,
do?
I buy that's the one with the green and white, the bigger ones. Don't they have the bigger ones? Sasso?
Yes.
They have the bigger ones. Yes, I only use Sasso.
And
oh my
there-
god!
And we've also got some Feco and the coils, some calendars, pens, you know, just to have a little
Thank you
Feco
so much. Thank
and
you.
Sasso and Roma in your
Thank
life.
you so much.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but Roma and Sasso are actually the same product.
I didn't know that.
Ah.
I didn't
And-
even know about Rome. Actually, I know more about Sasso.
Well, now you do.
Now I know. And I've
Roma
lots
is
of it.
actually just the same product as Sasso, but with
Okay.
a rose scent.
Okay.
So Sasso is lemon scented.
That's the one I
and
usually
Roma
use.
is rose scented. So you can switch it up.
I will.
You know, just to make sure that you don't
Thank
get
you.
malaria and you continue to do the incredible work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I
I'm glad that
appreciate it.
you were here. Thank you so much for being
you
here.
for having me.
But before you leave us, in your own words, who is a phenomenal lady?
Every woman is phenomenal. My definition of somebody who's phenomenal is somebody who lives their truth. Someone who knows their strengths and embraces their weaknesses. And lives life according to their own terms.
Wonderful. So we are so grateful for having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
I appreciate it.
This has been the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show, brought to you by Roma Insecticide Spray and Mosquito Coil. Roma, Nkrumah Master and Feco Spray. Start, look sharp. And remember, as long as you stay true to yourself, persevering against all odds and making sure to fight for what you believe in and for your true purpose, there's nothing you can't achieve in life. This has been the PL Show. Auntie Cynthia, thank you so much for
having
being here
me.
today. It's been an amazing
It
show.
has been amazing.
Thank you all so much for watching this special edition of the Roma Phenomenal Lady Show. I've been your host, Princess Fathia Nkrumah, and this is the PL Show. Same time next week.